An LGBTQ nonprofit is highlighting colleges and universities across the country.
Not for their openness to LGBTQ students, but for actions that could make queer students feel unwelcome. The group Campus Pride released its annual list of what it calls the absolute worst, most unsafe campuses for LGBTQ youth. This year's list includes 180 schools. That's the longest in the list's 6-year history.
NBC Out reporter Joe Yerkeba joins us now to walk us through their reporting. Joe, good morning. So let's start with what standards Campus Pride uses to actually make these claims. What classifies schools as unsafe for LGBTQ students?
Sure. So there are two criteria that could land a university on Campus Pride's list. And the first is that they've applied for a religious exemption from Title IX, which is the federal law that prohibits discrimination based on sex in federally funded schools. Religious schools can request an exemption if adhering to part of the law would violate their sincerely held religious beliefs. And then the second criteria is if a school has a history of creating a hostile or discriminatory environment toward LGBTQ students by, for example, having a policy that prohibits same-sex dating, according to Campus Pride.
So as we mentioned, the list is longer than it has been in quite a few years. 50 more schools joined the list compared with last year. You report it's because of Title IX changes under the Trump administration. What more can you tell us about that?
Sure. So the Obama administration would publish a list of schools that requested a religious exemption to Title IX. The Trump administration didn't require schools to even request that exemption. It was given by default. And as a result, it stopped updating and publishing the list of schools. So the list is much longer this year because the Biden administration has gone back to publishing those lists. So Campus Pride had an influx of schools from those lists. And it also had an influx from a recent class action lawsuit against more than 24 religious schools from students who say the exemption itself is unconstitutional and allows discrimination.
Now, you mentioned that one of the things that can land a school on this list is what the environment's like on campus. Talk us through what kinds of backlash students at these schools that are on this list face when trying to form, let's say, an LGBTQ campus group or even just publicly hold hands with their partners.
Sure, they can face disciplinary action and expulsion from school, but students also say that anti-LGBTQ policies at these schools create an, anti-LGBTQ culture, which could also lead queer and trans students to face violence for being themselves publicly. So the stakes are really high for queer students on these campuses.
All right, Joe Yerkeba, thank you so much for your reporting on this. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.